Until recently. The acting Minister of Transport has distanced himself from any deal with Sudan on the reopening of the river transport. And the Catholic Archdiocese of Juba says the Secretary of State at the Vatican will visit South Sudan ahead of yet to be rescheduled papal visit. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo. And now the news in detail. The court-martial in Unity State has sentenced 3 soldiers to 5 years in jail for killing 2 police officers in Bentiu recently. In March this year, Colonel Gatquoth Dieng, Captain Kerebino Rai, and Rai Gatquoth from Muam Training Center reportedly stormed Lair Town to forcefully abduct a suspect who was in prison for murder. Mayen Kwol, an armed civilian, was detained for allegedly murdering combatant Mut Kubai along Muam Lair Town Highway on 26 of January. However, a unit of soldiers reportedly took the law into their own hands after claiming delayed justice for their colleague. The officers alleged to be under the command of Brigade 12 commander in the area took the decision to break into the prison cell to take away the suspected killer of their colleague. The incident escalated into a deadly gunfire after some police officers guarding the prison tried to resist their intended mission. 2 of the police officers were shot dead and 2 others from the attackers suffered severe wounds during the gunfire that was at proximity. Today, the military court found 3 soldiers guilty of killing Captain William Nyon Jani and Sergeant Majak Tian and handed them a 5-year jail term. The court also dismissed them from the army after demoting them to civil rank. Convicts Colonel Gatquoth Dieng, Captain Kerebino Rai, and Rai Gatquoth have been fined 51 heads of cattle each in blood reparation for the victims. However, the sibling to deceased William Nyon Jani has expressed dissatisfaction with the ruling. Tak Jani Paul says he expected more than this. He spoke to Irede shortly after the court verdict.
So the final verdict, they have dismissed the 3 suspects from SSCBA and they have been sentenced even for 5 years for each either one of them. For blood composition, they have compensated that 2 persons that have been murdered to 1 state of cattle. That is the conclusion, and the accusers and to civilian prisoners. So, for the family victims, so we are happy for some stuff, and then we are not convinced for the compensation. Yes, because these 51 cows, they are not enough because one of them captain and other one is sergeant. They are not even enough for these 2 days. The death was caused by gun. The 100 head of cattle.
The acting Minister of Transport has distanced himself from any deal with Sudan on the reopening of the river transport. The resumption was announced last month by the Presidential Advisor on National Security Affairs, Stuttgart Luak, and Omar Al-Khalifa Abdallah, Sudan's acting governor of the White Nile State. The strategic river transport restarts after 11 years of closure due to the border dispute that culminated into the brief 2012 Hejlech War. Yesterday, Minister Mijak was questioned by the Standing Specialized Committee on Transport at the National Legislature on the initiative. The committee was concerned why it was not involved in discussion that led to the reopening of the river transport corridor. Glory Filmon is the Transport Committee chairperson.
We were shocked because we had a part of the government. We never knew what was going on. That is why we summoned the minister to know from him. Then he explained all what he have said about questions. Because we've been hearing some questions, they've been calling me as a chairperson of transport, asking me. But we asked the Minister of Transport, he said no, they're not aware. They've been hearing it in the media and they've been seeing it in SSBC, but they're not aware. The paper is not reached the office. That is what they told us.
In response, Mijak said he had no knowledge about the arrangements.
On on our part, as the Ministry of Transport, we have no any physical information brought to us. We just heard over the media, and that is all. For what was reported on the media as the opening of the river transport, we in the Ministry of Transport were not informed, and we are not aware of it. We just heard over the radio.
Both Philemon and Mejaki spoke on the state TV SSBC last evening. The National Democratic Movement has voiced its skepticism on the possibility of holding a free and fair election in the country next year. In a press statement seen by iRadio, the acting spokesperson Mahmoud Abderrahman Akkad said the unity government is far behind the schedule. Akkad pointed out that there are only 6 months left until the time of the general election as specified in the 2018 peace deal. But outstanding tasks in the agreement remained unresolved. The right hand of Dr. Lamakol cited judicial reforms, repatriation and resettlement of millions of refugees and internally displaced persons. Yet he added the enactment of laws that are necessary for the election process have not been done. The NDM spokesperson claimed that the peace implementers lack the political will and intend to extend the interim period. Early this week, the special representative of the United Nations Secretary General for South Sudan acknowledged some achievements in the 2018 revitalized peace agreement. Nicola Haysom commended the unity government for the recent breakthrough of the joint command structure of the unified forces. An official recently revealed that 50,000 trained unified forces would graduate before the end of this month. With only a week left out of June, neither the timetable for the graduation ceremony nor the other necessary preparations are announced yet. The opposition party under the SOA coalition said in the statement that it supports neither an extension nor a rushed election, but rather preparing the ground for the conduct of a free and fair election. The National Democratic Movement led by Dr. Lamakol has appealed to the regional and international observers to keep an eye on the peace deal. The government in Juba is yet to comment on the matter. You're listening to iRadio News. The Catholic Archdiocese of Juba says the Secretary of State at the Vatican will visit South Sudan ahead of yet-to-be rescheduled papal visit. Pope Francis was to arrive first to Kinshasa of DR Congo next weekend before coming to Juba, but postponed both trips 2 weeks ago due to knee ailment. Yesterday, the Holy See announced that Pope Francis is heading to Canada, a date he is yet to announce. The news was received with mixed reactions among South Sudanese netizens. In a circular sent by iRadio, his Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin, will instead come to Juba on July 5th. This is with the hope that the Holy Father will reschedule another trip. Visiting Parolin is expected to lead prayers at the Dr. John Garang Mausoleum on July 7th. Clergy Samuel Abe is the general coordinator for the papal visit to South Sudan. He told iRadio this morning that the coming of the Vatican envoy is to demonstrate Pope Francis' commitment to visit the country soon.
His coming is mostly to come and cement the commitment of the Holy Father to come as soon as possible when his health condition improves. And so instead of him just visiting us, the church has decided that he will pray on the 7th, as it was scheduled previously, that the Pope will preside over a Holy Mass at the John Garang Mausoleum. So all of us will converse. Let the public not be discouraged. As I said, the visit of the Cardinal is actually to confirm to us that still the Pope will come on the day that will be indicated.
The Catholic priest is inviting South Sudanese to turn up for the prayers. And before the international news, the Ethiopian ambassador in Juba has promised to address the city mayor concerns that his citizens have built hotels within residential areas. Yesterday, Michael Ladu Alajabu says the presence of hotels within residential blocks is attracting immorality among underage children. Ethiopians are believed to own merchandised businesses in South Sudan. They are known also for investing in lavish hotels. Alajabu suggested that those running the hotel farms turn the structures into apartments. When asked by iRadio, the deputy head of mission at the Ethiopian embassy in Juba pledged to investigate the matter.
To us, we will look into it because the mix between Ethiopia and Eritreans. Because we basically encourage Ethiopians to abide by the law of South Sudan, because South Sudan is our host, and this is our second home because we have 1,600 kilometer border. We share people with South Sudan. We advise them always to work here, to do business here, like this is their home, because we have so deep historical tie with South Sudan. So we are advising them, and we will look into those concerns by the mayor.
Ambassador Marcos Tekle Rike, however, encourages the native business tycoons to embark on multiple investments in South Sudan. This includes skill development schemes like education, health, and specialized trainings. Others include industries to create more jobs for both South Sudanese and Ethiopia nationals. You're listening to iRadio News, and now to the international scene powered by MTN.
Freedom is everyone's desire. Freedom is what makes you and me happy. Freedom is called Hurea in my country. My telecom network has chosen to give me freedom. MTN is my network. I have the freedom. I choose affordable and reliable. Hurea Bundles is my way. MTN introduces to you Hurea Bundles, giving you the freedom to call across all networks with the same bundles. Subscribe by dialing *100 *3 *4 hash and get 15 minutes for only 100 SSB and 30 minutes for 150 SSB, valid for 1 day. Hurea, pure freedom. MTN, everywhere you go.
This is iRadio 1 o'clock news, and now Lo Nelson takes us to the international scene.
Thank you. On the international and local, a court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has acquitted President Felix Tshisekedi, former chief of staff, charges of corruption, according to his lawyer. Vital Kamel was sentenced in 2020 to 20 years of hard labor after facing charges of embezzling almost 50 million of public funds. The missing funds were intended to be used in a house project announced by the president following his inauguration. The acquittal by a court of appeal in the capital, Kinshasa, was communicated to Mr. Kamel's lawyers, according to the news agencies. The former president of Angola, José Eduardo dos Santos, has been admitted to a hospital in the Spanish city of Barcelona, Portuguese state news agency Lusa has reported. Lusa reported that Mr. Dos Santos has been hospitalized in an intensive care unit in a hospital where he has resided for the past few years. The report comes amid speculation about the health of the former long-serving leader of the Southern African country. In May, the 79-year-old ex-president responded to rumors about his death by slamming the contradictory reports about his health and pointing out that his personal doctor was the only one authorized to speak on the matter. The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting has officially opened in Rwanda's capital, Kigali. The host President Paul Kagame, who takes over chairmanship of the 54-nation group that represents a third of the world's population, said it is values that define its membership. These include good governance, rule of law, and protection of rights. Hosting the event has brought his own government under sharp criticism over its human rights record. Gabon, a former French colony, is set to be admitted to the body during this meeting.
That was Lo Nelson with international news. You're listening to iRadio News, and now to the world of sports with Moyo Felix.
Thank you, and to start with, Shah Kari Richardson failed to advance past the first round in the women's 100 meters at the U.S. Track and Field Championship in Oregon, in what is the American team's trial for the World Championships at the same venue in July. The 22-year-old was fifth in her heat. Richardson, who missed the Olympics in Tokyo last year after testing positive for marijuana, ran 11.31 seconds. In the men's 100 meters, Fred Curley won his heat in a well-leading 9.83 seconds. Alea Hobbs was fastest in the women's 100 meters after running 10.88 seconds. Richardson, who was down in 23rd overall, can still make the World Championships as she is competing in the 200 meters. British number 1 Emma Raducanu has been drawn against Belgium's Alison van Uytvanck in the Wimbledon first round. Two-time champion Andy Murray, who is trying to overcome an abdominal injury, faces Australia's James Duckworth. Serena Williams starts her return to singles action after a year out against French debutant Harmony Tan. The 40-year-old American made her comeback in the Eastbourne doubles this week but has not played singles since she was injured at the Wimbledon last year. And finally, FIFA has approved 26-man squads for this year's World Cup in Qatar. The move is in line with recent national competitions and is an expansion of the 23-man squads that had been used before the coronavirus pandemic. FIFA also said up to 15 substitutes can be named for a game, meaning no player misses out, something England head coach Gareth Southgate had called for. The deadline for all 32 countries competing to submit their final squads is 20th October, 30 days before the first game between Senegal and the Netherlands at the Al Toumana Stadium. End of iRadio Sports News, and back to you, my colleague in the studio.
Thanks, Moyo Felix. You're listening to iRadio News, and now to conclude this bulletin, let's have a recap of the main stories. The court-martial in Unity State has dismissed 3 soldiers and sentenced them to 5 years in jail for killing 2 police officers in Bentiu recently. The acting Minister of Transport has distanced himself from any deal with Sudan on the reopening of the river transport. And the Catholic Archdiocese of Juba says the Secretary of State at the Vatican will visit South Sudan ahead of yet-to-be rescheduled papal visit. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alerts on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 or dial star 700 hash and follow the instructions. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please don't hesitate to send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also get to visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 12:30. I'm Nasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.